Next Radio with Broadcast Bionics. Innovative solutions for creative people.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your patience. You've had lots of people talking at you all morning. So I should say I've just been looking at Claire's slides backstage. I can't promise you anything quite as racy. So apologies for that. So I'm here to give you 5 rock-solid tips on how to manage your talent, or as I like to call it, common sense. Okay, tip 1. You're all on the same team, okay? It's really important when you're producing a radio show to remember that you all need to work together in order to create the best possible radio. The minute you adopt an us and them approach in the studio, then you're heading for disaster. You know, it's your responsibility to make sure that your presenter sounds great. If they sound great, then you're going to sound great, and you're all going to be doing a great job. Okay, tip 2. Never give a flat no straight away. You might recognize this man up here. Someone's just said no to him. My theory is unless what the presenter is proposing is totally irresponsible, illegal, or libelous, you should actually think about what they're saying, kick it around together. It's much better to think of builds on suggestions. If what they're saying is totally unsuitable, then go back with viable alternatives. But if you look at this chap up here, he is an ideas machine. He has about 10 ideas a minute, 5 of which are brilliant, 3 of which can be built on, and 2 of which should never see the light of day. And it's your responsibility as the producer to kind of weed those out. And he'll thank you for the build, all he wants to do is sound as good as possible. And if he's got someone working with him to help that happen, then he's going to be happy. Okay, tip 3. Always listen intently to what your presenter is saying and react accordingly. As producer, you should all know this, it's your responsibility to be across every single word that is broadcast on your programme. You are the first line of defence for your presenter. Remember, they're performing, and no one likes to act to an empty room now, do they? They need to know that you are fully invested in what's happening on the air. And to give you an example, I was in Hyde Park this weekend, pretty much all weekend. It was a big weekend for Radio 2 with Proms in the Park and our festival in a day. And I was chatting away to a presenter there who's recently had a change of producer. And they were telling me a story about how they used to do, they do a gag every day, the same gag every day on air. They thought the audience loved it. Their previous producer would always kind of laugh or eye roll or just kind of, acknowledge the fact that this was the moment in the show where the same gag was reiterated. The new producer, nothing. And as a result, this presenter has now started to lose faith in this item. Now, I haven't heard the gag. I don't know if it's funny. But, it's just an example of the fact that the presenter is desperately looking for acknowledgement in everything that they say on the air. Okay, tip 4. Always bring something extra to the party. Dear old Vanessa, you can rely on her for a nice bottle. But of course, what I'm talking about here is noting down any observations or thoughts you have throughout the night or day or weekend, just the germ or seed of an idea that you think could potentially translate into content on the air. Now, you'll learn how best to feed these nuggets into your individual shows. Some presenters are not interested in any ideas unless the ideas come from them. If you're working with one of those presenters, then you need to work out the psychology of that presenter and, maybe it's just through off-the-cuff suggestions, I was watching this last night and blah, 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 and before you know it, it's made it onto the air. The presenter has kind of owned it or whatever. Or it might be a presenter actually likes you to send an email, or you have a pre-show discussion with all these things. But I guarantee you, every presenter will be impressed that you've been thinking about the show out of hours, I can't say it enough. You're on the same team, and you all want to make as good a radio show as possible. Okay, my final tip. Enjoy it. You know, we don't work in a bank, and thank heavens for that, you know. Frankly, if you're not having a good time, then your presenter certainly won't be having a good time, and no one listening will be either. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are my top 5 tips for how to help with your presenters. Thank you very much.